Welcome back. One thing that you might have noticed is the fact that even though we made changes to my profile and now it's not Homer but Homer Simpson, and also the image is a different one, there are no changes on this screen here. All right, so if we go to my profile, we can see that it's a different detail that we see here. So Homer Simpson instead of just Homer. If we update, we go back to the project manage screen here and no changes. So that is something that we will change now, because we will start this activity as a activity for result activity. All right, so basically we want to get a response, and then based on that we want to do things. So let's go ahead and just implement the functionality for that. So first of all, I'm going to create a companion object in my main activity so that I can create some constants in there. So let's go over to the activities here and then the main activity. So here, companion object, which will simply contain information about our profile request code. So const val my profile request code, and I'm gonna assign 11 to it. So let's define it as an integer just to be sure, even though it shouldn't be necessary, but still, now it's an integer and we can go ahead and use it. So the next step we will need to do is to start the activity for result once we click on the navigation item. So here in our on navigation item selected, we have this nav my profile and we start the activity, but not for a specific result. So that is what we want to change now. So we're just gonna add the for result here, for result. And if we do that, we also need to enter the request code that we want to pass. Okay, so let's add a comma here and add the my profile request code. Okay, so overall this intent is gonna look like this. You can see here start activity for result with the intent and then with my profile request code. Then the third step is to send the result from my profile activity, because at one point we need to send the result, right? And I'd say we should set the result once we click on the update profile success. So profile update success function, hide progress bar, and here at this point let's set the result as being activity result okay. Okay, so once we update it and we click on this button, the result will be okay, and we can here in this function now have an on activity result override. So on activity result, and here we can check if the result code was result okay. So if result code is equal to activity dot result okay, and the request code was in fact the one that we prepared, which is my profile request code. So if that is given, so those things are given, what we need to do is we need to load the user data in this activity. So firestore class dot load user data, and here we need to pass in the activity, so we just pass in the main activity. And if it was something else, so if we got an error, we can just log an error here, log e cancelled, and the message could be also cancelled. We're going to be of course more descriptive here, on activity result or something like that, cancelled, so whatever we want to add here to be more descriptive. But at this point we should be able to test this and see if it's going to give us the required result. All right, so projet manage. Now let's look at it. We can see now it's going to be Homer Simpson. Of course it will be, because now it loaded the whole page again. Of course it loaded the user data, because that is what is done when the page is loaded, right? But now let's make changes in my profile. Let's now call this guy Homer again. It's not Homer Simpson, it's Homer again. Let's update. And let's have a look, and we can see now it's Homer again. All right, so that seemed to work. Now you can see how you can make these changes without having to load the whole database once again when you come back, without having this clean approach that we used. So now we start the activity, because this profile page is really just a pop-up, so to speak. Okay, so we are opening it, and once we go back, we want to make changes. If we press the back button, however, then cancelled will be executed. So let's have a look. Cancelled. We can see we get this error here. It says cancelled. All right, so that's it. Let's go ahead to the next video. See you there.